Alright, let's recording. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, everyone. So in this video, like Rosmith, in this video, inshallah, we're gonna talk. We're gonna move on. We're gonna get those students. Okay, so here I have a comment of how we are gonna get those students into that table, because it's been a while, like I said, and I don't really memorize these table stuff. I do understand it and I do use it, so I'm gonna explain it later. But first we need to touch in that script, do what's next, right? So I've created some new tasks. So show data from DB in our application. Yeah, that's not just done right, but yeah. Okay, so we have showed them students in table, handle buttons, define what's next, at the level of student enrollment number. Okay, that's task 20, so because we don't really care about it. Okay, so not that important, just delete it. Alright, so we're gonna get those students into our table. Alright, so let's just copy this. Let's remove it and let's put it right here. Alright, so let's remove this front s. Let's uncomment this stuff. This comment is inside this comment. Alright. Okay. So for student in students, delete this line. Okay. So here we have got something new that we need to explain, understand, and move on. Okay, so let me just touch about one thing here. So if I forget it, and I probably will, remind me of it. So this query needs not to be here longer than it needs, so we need to create a separate package or folder so we can import some queries or them queries from there. Okay, that's my note for you. Remember that. If I don't do it, you do. Okay. Next. So what is this garbage that I've done here? So first of all, let's just open our application menu and see what's the name of our table, so we use it in the code. What's the name? Object name. Object name is what? What's the value? Table widget. This is actually table. It's for the students. Table student. Let's just go on with the name that we have named the table in our database, and let's go. Save it. Close it. And move on. So nice.py. Let's just open this in the graphical thing. Alright, it's the same file, just it's the graphical vim. Alright, so I have this table name. This is not table name, this is table student. So you kind of see what I am doing here. So I am telling this self table student to set its row count to 0. This is 0, by the way, not 8. Next thing, we are looping through something. Through what? So this is a statement. Enumerate students, or in order for us to simplify this, we can do, for example, students equal enumerate students, and let's have this deleted, and let's have this deleted. Okay, you kind of see now what's happening. So this enumerate students can become a variable. and this is just for simplification. Okay, so what does this enumerate do? Okay, so let's just actually print it, so we can, let's do something, another function. So it does not execute. This is, put this here, and let's print students, just to show and teach you something. All right, okay, that's one. Excuse me, what's that? What do we have? I hope it's just this error. Invalid syntax. Alright, so we have something we messed up. Big deal. What is the invalid syntax? This is valid. Alright, this is a somewhat error. I didn't touch this part of the code yet. So, what is the error coming from? May Allah help us solve this error. Okay. Syntax error. Where will this come from? Yeah. It is saying that it's coming from here, and I cannot see where the error is coming from. Alright. There is no syntax error in here. Can you see it? Okay, so if you are repeating this video and I already found the error, you actually are watching how stupid the error is, and you are telling me right now, look at it, just look at it, and I am looking at it and I cannot find it, my friend. Alright, okay. La ilaha illallah. ماذا ويقع. Okay, can I just stop the video here? But okay, I haven't done anything in this video just yet, so it's just 8 minutes, and I already have something to show for it. Let's open this in Sublime Text and let's see what kind of crazy error that we have. Qt table widget. Okay, first of all, we didn't import this one. That's one. Is that it? If it was that, it's gonna tell us. Okay, let's do tools or view. Okay, let's do project. What is that? Package settings, package fonts. No. Something to turn all the Is there any indentation that should be, or any space that should be indented? No, there isn't any space that should be indented. Okay, that's crazy. This is crazy. Am I crazy? You know what, let's comment this just like this. Let's say, okay, it's working. It is working. Alright. So what is my output? So I kinda missed the thing I have been. Okay, so get students have uncomment this. Alright. So enumerate object. So enumerate, we have printed the students, which equals to enumerate the students. Alright. So this line here returns an object. Okay, save, Control S. Alright, so next thing, yeah, we're gonna loop for student or for I, because we don't really know what enumerate has. We're gonna do for I in student print I. Yeah, Latif. Okay. So let's repeat this. Like you see, okay, so here we have the object. Next thing, we have looped through that object and printed each thing of it. So each thing here is a tuple of two things. Okay, so we have two tuples. The object has two tuples, or okay, so let's just talk about this. So this student is what exactly? First of all, the student is the data that we have fetched from the database. So this actually can be 1, 2, 3 or a billion students, it doesn't matter, but enumerate or the database still is going to return the same thing. So first of all, let's talk about what the database returns. So this fetch all returns all the students in a list, like we have seen before in the previous video. So this returns a list. This returns a list of students, and you can just see that by doing print the type of students. يا لطيف ماذا يقرأ. Alright. Okay, so like you see, list, it's the type of list, so it's the class of list. So it has a list. This list has tuples. So if we choose one of those things that this list comes with, so it's a list of things after all. So we have indexed one of those things, the first thing in that list. So we actually make sure that we have indexed something, and there you go. What's it? Okay, the object is tuple, or the type of that is tuple. So this list returns, or this line here returns a list of tuples and saves it, or points this student variable to it. Okay, or assign this variable to it. You don't actually understand pointers if you are a Python programmer just yet, unless you have studied C, C++ or whatever. So this line here, this line shows us that the students are fetch all returns a list of tuples. Alright. Next thing, we have this table student set row count. It doesn't actually matter to you to know what this does exactly, but it's important if you want to use enumerate or to just put the data in a table, and we are gonna actually use this one later. So let's just cut it from here and let's run it here. Let's comment it and let's move on. I don't need any more distractions right now. We don't need no more distractions right now. So let's have the student, enumerate student, and what this does is returns an object like I've said, and this object, when we loop through it, it returns in itself tuples. And my evidence or my argument for that is, let's just do I0, or let's just print the I type for now, the type of I. So here we are printing the student, and this line returns an object as an output. Next thing, we are looping through that object to see what it returns, and we actually are not seeing what it's going to return, we are seeing the type of the thing that it's going to return. That's what we want. So let's clear. Alright, tuple. So it's printed tuple 2 times because we have 2 students so far. So let's just say, yeah, or let's say print I in front of it, the type of it and the I. So let's go. So we have class tuple, and this is the tuple. The second student, or the tuple of the second student, is this one, Karim Bokyod, and Ahmed Isho as the first new student. Okay, and if you noticed, this tuple in itself is a tuple. Okay, this tuple that's funny. So this tuple in itself has 2 values. Okay, the first value, or the 0th index, has a number, or like it's numbering the tuples in the object. So the object that we have printed here from the enumerate, or what enumerate returns, is an object, and enumerate, it enumerates those things that it has. So for example, this student here, we gave it to enumerate, the function, and what enumerate does exactly is it takes each of the things that the student returns and it basically enumerates them, or puts numbers in front of them. So student returns 2 tuples, this one and this one. Okay, and what enumerate does, it takes each tuple and have a number in front of it, so you know the order of that tuple in the whole list of students. Okay, this number, by the way, and this number is just the student enrollment number, so that's the ID from the database. Okay, so you don't need to be concerned about that. And by the way, we actually don't need to select that from the database at all, so we need only to select, so let's have the tutorial DB, we need only to select the first name, the last name, and the birth date. So that's what I'm gonna do, the first name, the last name, birth date. For more clarity, okay, operand should contain 1 column. What is going on? For students, select. Alright, yeah. We don't need this. Okay, let's close. Let's just do this. Let's do this. Okay. Alright, everything's working. Okay, now the enrollment or the ID of those students in the database are gone. Now we have left only what the enumerate returns. It returns a tuple of two things, the number of that in the order of the whole thing, and the tuple that the database gave it, or students. Okay, it just adds this thing here before each thing. Okay, so because enumerate returns two things, as I said, we can actually take those things and play with them in order for them to help us put the data in the table, and that's what we are going to do. I really hope you understand this stuff, man. Okay, yeah, sometimes I explain things so far I think I just make them more complicated than they really are. So yeah, if you don't understand it from my explanation, just make sure you visit someone else's videos, yeah, or just Google those things. Google, for example, what does this line do? Just copy it and Google the line itself, okay? And if you don't understand this, just take it, you will eventually know, and I'm gonna explain it more even in this video. So we have been talking for 21 minutes. Okay, we still have time, it's just 4:10. Okay, so okay, stuff on. So next thing, what we are gonna do, what are we doing? Okay, so let's remove this for I in students, print type of I, and let's move on to actually print this stuff and print what enumerate has. Oh, we already printed those just here. So let's uncomment this function and let's write our function. Let's complete our function. So this line returns an object that's no longer necessary, and this one is no longer necessary in itself, this line. So we set the self table student set row count to 0. Auto completion is a blessing. So I don't really use it with Vim because it teaches you to be lazy, and I am learning a lot of new stuff. So every time you learn something new, yeah, you remove all of these IDEs and things that make learning simple and easy for your brain, so it really learns the material well and sound. Alright, so let's move on. So we have set the table, set count row of that table to 0. Now let's go through each tuple of those students. So for row number, row data in enumerate students, and the students variable is this one right here. By the way, I'm gonna delete this line, I guess. I'm just gonna comment it, so, but you know what, make sure you have it. It's gone. I hate comments in my code because Python actually is self-explanatory, and this stuff I'm just doing in order to help you like break through from that mind barrier thing that you have. So because if you actually take a step back and take a piece of paper and a pen and explain this to yourself, just try to explain what you see, you're gonna eventually you're gonna realize that you know everything that this program is doing, because Python actually is just like plain English. So let's just move on. So for row number, row data, the row number is the thing that is in front of each tuple that we have printed earlier. So we have a number and a tuple. So for row number is this one, and for row data is the whole tuple. Okay, row data, not data, row of the data, because this tuple is a row of data in itself. So because it represents each row of student, or each student as row in the database table that you have created. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so what we are gonna do now is self.table student insert row. We're just gonna give it the row number. Alright, next thing, we are gonna loop again through that. We are gonna use enumerate again, like here, to loop through the row data. So the next item that enumerate returns, not the number now. So first of all, here we have looped through what enumerate returns in general. Here we are going to use enumerate again to loop through the second thing that we had from enumerate, so the row data. So because we have the each thing numbered, we are going to have column number now. First of all, we have looped through each row, so we have number of rows. Now we are stepping only to one row. Now we are specific. We chose a student at this point, so now we are looping through each student's data. So that's a column, so column number and data in enumerate row data. Alright, okay, next thing we're gonna do table student set item to what? Okay, so column number data enumerate row data. You have the row number, column number, and q table widget item string of data. This one is really gonna blow your mind. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you something. Each time you do use these 4 lines here, you only need to change the student table, or the table student's name, or the table's name. Yeah, that's it. You don't need to change anything else, and you need to change the table's name here as well, until you eventually understand it. And this line, or this q table widget item, is really what's confusing to beginners, because why do we have this here? Now what you need to do is go and Google the set item and what it does for this table, because it's really a lot for me to explain in one video, and it's actually it's not a requirement for you to understand or to use this thing. You just have to use it. It's Python anyway. It's already like hiding a lot from you. Why don't just you go and hide things for yourself? Okay, so let's delete these things. If you want to really learn programming, learn C. I'm telling you, I've been coding with Python for over 1 year, and I thought I knew what programming is really about until I find out that C is way more better than Python. Alright, so we are done. Actually, for your information, we are done. So let's execute the code, and let's hope and pray that everything is just like we hoped for. Okay, so eventually we need the enrollment number, so let's just get it. Alright, so this is the query. This is where we need to add the student ID. So let's clear tutorial db. Student ID is the name of that thing, so let's have student ID. Why did I add it at last? Because if you understand this stuff, you are gonna understand this actually. In order for it to make it last. Yeah. And because it's gonna fill in here. Exactly. So 1, 2, it's amazing. And if you see, this column is stretched and these are not. We are gonna change that sometime in the future, but you know what, let's just get over with this table craziness stuff, and let's have it as a task in order for us to accomplish it. Let's have this scripts what's next, and let's have this as a task. Let's do what? Table stretch. Yeah, we really need to get through this table thing because it's not a lot, but it's something. Okay, so we have completed the first task, and the second thing that we need to do is the video long enough. Yeah, it's long enough, so we still have 10 minutes, so we hit the 40 minutes mark. I don't actually have a mark, but I'm just telling you that. Okay, so next thing, we need to know the buttons names. We need to handle the buttons, so we need to go to the function. Well, actually, let's close Sublime. I don't need it no more. I need to have a function. I need to have a function call first. Let's call the function here. So let's call self.handle buttons. Let's name it here, or let's define it here. Handle buttons. So in order for us to handle what a button does, we need to know its name. So we need to open the designer and know those buttons names. So we have in our form 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons. So we have the delete, the update, the create, and the get buttons too. So they are actually just called push button, push button, push button. So let's start from the delete. So button delete, and this one is button get. Really simple name, so you do not get confused when you get back to coding. And this is button create. The name of the widget and the name of the function. Easy peasy. And you are going to notice something else. When we open our application, it doesn't open with the first window. It opens the second. Why? Because when we close the designer, we have closed it or saved it with the second window. But even so, we need to make our application always open the first window no matter what. So we need to define this as a task as well. So let's go back to the task. What's next? And let's have this as a task as well. So handle the UI. So the first window always opens first. What's next? Define /them column tables. Yeah, no, we need to handle buttons first. Okay. So we now have handle buttons. So in order for you or for us to handle a button, we need to have a function to connect it to. So a pass, and let's do create student let's do define delete student. Let's have this as update student. So we need to have self.get or button. Yeah, we need to have another function called get student. Button get is .click. I still remember .connect, and then we give it the button get .click .connect .what? Yeah, get student. The button update click connect update student. Alright, we took care of the buttons. Now we need to take care of the functions. That's what we are gonna do next in the next video, inshallah. We are gonna fill in these functions and we are gonna move to something else, like adding more things for us to handle about the students in the DB, or have another table like student attendance or something like that. But first we need to get done with this form student. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.